The electric journey for Kia started back in 2015 with the Kia Soul and then progressed with models such as the Niro. Now if you want to see the future of Kia and electric, cast your eyes on the EV6. I'm Ben Quirk, welcome to Planet Auto. I think the first time I saw this was at Goodwood Festival of Speed, and it was turning heads left, right and centre, and rightly so. Just take a look at the design language. I mean, we thought the Kia Sorento was cutting edge. This, it's like it's not even from this planet. And it's not just the design language that's cutting edge either. Everything from the powertrain through to all the tech. Even the practicality completely astounds me. The one thing about this car that I can say is, it looks far bigger in person. Also, pictures don't do it any justice. When it comes to the powertrain, you've got a 77.4 kilowatt per hour battery. And surprisingly, for a car of this size, it offers 326 miles of range, which will increase up to around 460 when you take it into the city. And we can say that with firm certainty. So what we did was film a road trip all the way from GridServe back up the M6 to home, so you can see exactly what it's like on a 300-mile trip. Motorways, A-roads, tech, safety, you name it. Now the range starts with this one, and this is the Air. You get this for just under £42,000. Rather impressive. Now, if this doesn't float your boat, well, you can go for the GT, and it delivers a staggering 577 brake horsepower. A bit more than our 226. Saying that though, this isn't bad off the line either. 0 to 60 in around 7 seconds. Now what do you get with a brand new electric car in a completely new platform? Well, as standard you get things like LED lights, a safety suite that's, well, pretty advanced, and some other toys that you just don't expect to see. And you can option up as well, including panoramics, heat pumps, you name it. The design language, quite frankly, blows me away. I mean, the first thing I thought when I saw this was, that looks like a Le Mans car bonnet. The way that it goes down all the way to the arch, the shaping of the lights. It's also got a look of, I suppose you call them early concept supercars. I think one was the Quasar. The body line, the way everything's been designed so it's aerodynamic. Everything from the mirrors down to the flared arches at the rear. Even the rear spoiler. Everything has been designed for efficiency. But that's the main thing you want from an electric SUV. I mean, for example, look at the airflow around here. Everything is forced round the side. And even under here, it feels sealed, so that will decrease drag. No classic grille. Now step back in time and imagine this with the old Kia badge. It just wouldn't work. This is new Kia, and I like it. LED daytime running lights that flow all the way around here, and you've even got airflow in front of the headlamps. Everything has been thought about. Partial clamshell, and it dips near the front, and it gives it such an aggressive look. I've always got a soft spot for curvature. Just look at this. But the interesting thing is, the soft lines and the straight lines work in harmony. It's got the perfect proportions. Now the Air boasts a substantial list of tech and safety active and passive systems on this. You've got everything from AEB, collision detection, as well as automatic lights, high beam assist. It virtually drives itself. The other thing is, it doesn't nag you. It'll periodically say, keep your hands on the wheel. It will also tell you if you need a coffee. Not everybody likes Overwatch, but I do, as long as it's not too, I suppose, invasive. Now there are no front parking sensors, but you do have rear. Kamikaze pigeons. The flaring here, I mean, the interesting thing is, it's not the flare of the wing, it's the flare of the bonnet that then goes directly into the wing. This styling here, 19-inch wheels and a decent profile tyre. That's the thing about Kia, they think of, well, pretty much everything. For example, you've got doors that cover the sills, power folding door mirrors, electrically adjusted, blind spot detection. Let's take a look inside. Now interestingly, because we haven't got keyless entry, these don't present themselves. But if you do have a key in your person and you've got higher trim, the car will greet you like this. Doors open nice and wide, and this is a decent wide opening. And this is like having your very own spaceship. Soft touches throughout. And the design language. Just look at the shaping here. Climbing in. Well, nice and easy. One thing that did surprise me is no electric seat. But we do get height adjustment and electronic lumbar. It is like being in the cockpit of something off Star Trek. This takes existing car design and just lifts it up, well, to otherworldly. Everything from the floating centre console to the dual screens. And the way that the navigation merges into the screen. It's just so well done. It took me ages to find the handbrake. But it's actually here. And look, you can adjust the headlamps. Now that means it can likely tow. Well, it can. It can tow up to 1,600 kilos. If I press this, that's where you charge it. If I press it again, you can remotely close it. And you'll be glad to know this is vegan, and so is the full interior. It also utilises some recycled materials too. Ooh, everything's solid, even this floating centre console. Storage points left, right and centre. Cup holders. Armrest. And that mathematical pattern once again. Deep storage point. And I'd assume on higher trims that you can get a wireless charging pad here. There's even a massive storage point here. 12 volts, two 12 volts, USB and a micro USB as well. Voice activation, adaptive cruise and driving modes, which are operated by this button on the steering wheel. The switchgear feels great, and this even illuminates. The shaping of the dash, the soft touches, the mix of materials. Kia know that people like rotary dials. It makes it easy to turn up things like air conditioning. I mean, the infotainment screen will give you every bit of information that you pretty much need. From the status of your battery, see what your journey's been like, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, DAB radio, range, navigation, and a multitude of apps. And yes, you can get an app for this vehicle, so you can see the status of your charge, yada yada. The cluster makes it nice and easy to see what's going on. On the left hand side you can see your speedo and when it's regenning. So when it drops down to, I think it's the blue colour, that's when it's putting power back into the battery. And it'll do that through coasting. You've got paddles on the back of the steering wheel for changing your regen level. I am a real fan of this. If anything, it actually reminds me of the BMW i8. Operating the powertrain nice and easy. I love a rotary dial. It's amazing how many vehicles actually have adopted this. And the thing that really overwhelms me about this vehicle is the massive space. The design language, the way everything's put together. And they've made it really easy to turn things like the fan on. You just press this rotary dial here. Touch buttons and it's rather responsive. Typically entry-level cars aren't that well equipped, but on this you get heated seats, heated steering wheel and a reversing camera, even though there isn't privacy glass. It's a comfortable driving position, lovely armrest, and it's wide enough for two. At 6'3", I've got no problems with headroom. Padded area here. Considering it's such a futuristic car, it's very easy to grasp and use daily. Let's take a look in the rear. Now that's a nice touch. Now you may be asking yourself, why are the door handles like that? Well, like everything else on this car, it's for efficiency and makes it far more streamlined. You just look at the flow. Anyway, let's take a look in the back. Now that is a wide opening door. Decent door opening too. See what I mean about legroom? This is... it's almost limo spec. And this is set for me at 6'3". I didn't expect that in a month of Sundays. A nicely trimmed door card and some additions of colour. Good build quality once again, and this is padded, but this is hard. One thing that really appeals is the fact that you can adjust the seatbelt in the front, but there is no grab handle. Now one thing I've noticed is I cannot get my feet under the seat, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think I need to. I don't think I've ever had this much legroom in a standard SUV or car. Headroom in the rear. If I lean right back, my hair does brush, but if I sit normally, no, it's perfectly fine. It's nice to see a rear light. It's amazing how many manufacturers omit something like this. It also looks like a really cool robot. Grab handles above every door, bar the drivers as I mentioned. But apart from that, it's very well kitted out. But Kia being Kia have been rather clever. For example, you've got the vents here that blow directly onto you, but you can still close them. And charging points, well, they're here. So people in the front can use them, or people in the rear. This housing around the seat, it's all solid. But there's a reason for this. These have actually got airbags in. Perforated vegan leather and a pull down armrest. A ski hatch. It's very comfortable, feels premium. I think I can safely say you could do a decent journey with 3 in this, even with people my size. It still staggers me how far it is from here to the front corner. I think I've literally had more cabin space than I've ever had. Nice work, Kia. Everything feels really good to the touch. It's well trimmed, everything's finished nicely. You've got your ISOFIX points here, airbags around the vehicle. I've got an electric window, and if you go for a higher trim, you get heated seats too. Decent door pocket. No impressive. I almost forgot, you can also recline your seat. Just pull up this lever. The vehicle has such an interesting profile. I really can't get over how much these rear wings flare out. It just gives it such an aggressive look. And even with the chrome strip running along the side skirts, it doesn't look overdone. I am a real fan of the location of the charging point. And I've been looking into some of the tech specs. And if you can find a 350 kilowatt charger, this will charge to 80% in 18 minutes. But even on a rapid charger, you're probably talking 40 to 45 minutes at the most. It will also Type 2 and home charge. The boot release is here, or you can pop it with your key. On higher trim levels, get a power tailgate. No boot lid. Nice wide opening. The charge cables and Velcro on this, so just sticks there. And another charging cable. Decent sized boot. I mean, it's not the biggest in the world. You quite easily get your luggage in here, family shops, and pretty much anything you need. I've got extra storage, and you can easily stow that here. Tyre mobility, which is also Velcroed down, and extra storage. That's pretty good for valuables. This car is full of storage, and I mean full. 12-volt socket, light here, and love it. Kia know how to do seat release. You've got one on either side. If I pull this, magic. A virtually flat loading area and carpet to cover any gap. That is massive. That rivals an estate car. This is now locked in place. Now to release, you just pull this. Now if you want your seat fully reclined, if you have your low cover here as opposed to here, it means when you recline your chair, you can take it further back. This is the first setting, and then it'll go as far as there and lock. I'm gonna have to climb in. Wow. And that's how it looks when the seats are fully reclined. You've still got a decent amount of space. The rear is like a work of art. For a start, you've got this futuristic light bar that runs all the way around. The new Kia badge and EV6 in a futuristic font. Now you've got rear parking sensors and a reversing camera. So yeah, a bit better than the front. If you go for higher trim levels, you'll get a 360 and front parking sensors. But it's such a clean design. Chunky styling with the ridges here to this matte chrome trim and the way that the rear lenses flow into here. It's just beautiful. It looks so futuristic. I expect this bit to come up. You can tell that efficiency was a key point when designing this. Now with every Kia you get a 7-year warranty, but I bet you didn't know for the first 3 years it's unlimited mileage. Kia and KB in perfect harmony. Now let's take a look under the bonnet. As I mentioned, there's something you likely wouldn't expect. The first time I saw this, I thought, an engine cover on an electric motor? That's strange. But then I revealed this. A storage point. A bit like, I think it's the i3. Off on our adventures again. Just checked out the travel lodge, and this is the new EV6. We're going to be doing a road trip of around 300 miles in this today. But first we've got the Cupra Born launch. First thoughts, nice weighty steering and responsive power. This feels very well planted. Yeah, I'm going to have some fun in this. Thank you, Cupra. Thank you, GridServe. This reminds me of the Nero. Very accurate. Told you exactly what you had. So every time you like blipped it, then it would drop and then go back up and so on and so forth. And on this dodgy bit of motorway surface, yeah, you can hear a bit of tyre noise. Nicely composed, lovely weighty steering. We've actually used 23 miles of range to do 33 miles. If I keep backing off, this will keep going up. Travelling between 65 and 70 miles an hour. We're just sat at 150 miles of range. It's not going up and it's not going down. It's remarkable how agile this is considering its size, because you've got so much weight, because the battery's laid out across the platform. Even if the body does move a bit, the chassis stays firmly planted on the road, even going like spiritedly around, say, a roundabout or a back lane. And I think that's the thing that appeals so much about electric cars to me. Lightning acceleration. Wow, we didn't even use 1 mile then. It's driving very well. Yeah, we've got a bit of tyre noise, but if you look at the motorway, it's horrendous.
It's very smooth, isn't it?
It's very smooth, yeah. And it puts power down, like you'd expect with an EV, instantly. Even at higher motorway speeds, this remains very agile, doesn't blow around in the wind, and feels like it's literally glued to the road. The interesting thing is, you've still got acceleration at higher speeds. If you're on, off, on, off, on, off, you will start to blip your charge. But if you just drive it normally and then adopt a one-pedal driving system, then it is very economical. Whoa! Get your gears out! Wow! Put our foot down. And that's the power of an EV. So that's sport mode. We did use 1 mile, doing about 300 yards. I can feel the car already braking for the wagon in front of me. As soon as I indicate, get into this lane, it puts the power back on. So it's a nice attentive system, and it's responsive, so it gets back up to speed rather quickly too. Remember, I'm in eco mode. We're now getting 3 miles per kilowatt per hour. So this is effortless. Responsive, grips the road well, doesn't blow around. Lots of overwatch and a comfortable driving position. It seems to recoup left, right and centre, which is strange when you look at the size of this car. It seems quite mad that you only have to charge 1 time, because every time I've driven, I seem to always end up charging more than once. But on this one, it's going to be 1 charge. Usually by the end of an electric journey, I have to be a little more frugal. It can virtually steer. So say the motorway takes like not a 90 degree, but a nice sweeping bend. As long as I keep my hands on the wheel, it will just steer. One thing that you might find a bit challenging, it's even caught me off guard, is the width of the wing mirrors and the shape. They stick out quite a bit of a distance, to be honest.
They're shaped like wings, aren't they?
It's an SUV, but weirdly has car characteristics. But yeah, it's pretty big. So on a back road, you just need to be a little bit. It's gone into sport. The responsiveness and the distance that the high beam reacts at is pretty damn impressive. Now I've got this onto the A roads, actually B roads. It doesn't use range. It's been sat on 52 for the last 3 or 4 miles. I mean, I'm doing 32 miles an hour, and we're getting 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour. Yeah, mile for mile, this is definitely one of the better EVs. But even on a motorway, normally EV powertrains guzzle like crazy, but this just doesn't. We're now in the GT line. We thought it'd be nice to see what the GT line offered. Now the Air, you can only get in rear wheel drive. When it comes to the GT line and the GT line S, you can get rear wheel drive and all wheel drive. And then towards the end of the year, we get a GT. But these, they're phenomenal. Now, yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, they're pretty big. Well, yeah, believe it or not, it's the same wheelbase as a Sorento. But the difference is, it's a completely different looking vehicle and a completely new platform. It goes where you point it. Because that's arguably why Mercedes and BMWs were known as like the best driver's cars, because the rear wheels drove the car and the front wheels steered the car. Considering its size, it's very agile. You wouldn't think this kind of vehicle would be nimble, but because of its electric powertrain and the pure weight, it sticks to corners like glue. I mean, literally. And then you can just, because it's rear wheel drive, power out of the bends. And the brakes, look at that. It almost drifts out of bends. Very well balanced, well poised. Corners for England. Nice turning circle. Very well refined. I mean, I've always been told that these were something else, but now I'm behind the wheel, I can see exactly what they mean.